basically who booked that test, what project booked it, what resources they booked out, i.e. controllers, load generators, how many virtual users they've reserved. So you get a view to what other people are doing with the test infrastructure. And you can see visually when your time slots are, when you've got time booked out for those resources. And when you actually go to reserve a time slot, you simply you get this pop-up, you select the test that you want to run, it will automatically detect the number of virtual users and the time that you need, so you select the start time, or you click calculate availability and it will show you the different start times where you can run the test. So when this was executed, you can see that the time they've selected is not available, but it shows times in the future where resources are available. So all of that scheduling of the virtual users and the resources, the load generators, etc., is done by the booking system here. So those are some of the improvements to the interface in Performance Center 11. So just to summarize, there's lots of new features both in LoadRunner and Performance Center. The LoadRunner TruClient is a very powerful scripting technology, mainly for Ajax applications, but also if you want an easier, more graphical way of scripting against normal web applications. You have the multi-reporting, which makes it much quicker and easier to get different types of reports out. And then Performance Center, very big changes there with it being merged and ported onto the ALM platform. Lots of new capabilities, requirements and defects, version control. So if Performance Center isn't something you've seen before, it might be that sparked your interest, and you might want to look at it in more detail. Just a quick summary of the other benefits you get from Performance Center there. Being able to pull your licenses together and schedule the use of your controllers remotely. Great if you're working on a global basis with offshore resources. So you'll have these slides to refer to afterwards. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that's been an interesting session. And if you've got any questions, please raise them in the Q&A box, and we'll be more than happy to address them.
Marvelous. Thank you very much, Jonathan, and also thank you, Thomas, for a great presentation. As Jonathan did mention, we are now taking questions. If you do have any particular questions to both Jonathan and Thomas, please do type them on your question pod, and we will take maybe a few questions, and then if we run out of time, maybe take it offline. So please do put your questions through, and then if we can't answer it now, we will do it offline, and I'll get Jonathan or Thomas to email you guys individually. If you have any questions, please do type them now. I have one question. I've got a question from Steve. The question is, what is the Ajax request in LoadRunner? Shall I put this through to you, Thomas?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. Okay, just briefly, Ajax is not actually using the normal get and put request. It's actually using an XML HTTP request method, which is used to make a request to the server. And because it's asynchronous, it's actually dynamically, as Jonathan mentioned, it's dynamically updating the web page basically without refreshing it.
Great, marvelous. Thank you, Thomas. I've got one question. I'll just choose from one from the list here. There's lots of tools of performance testing, but why LoadRunner is the best? Jonathan, would you want to take that? Or?
Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, LoadRunner's been around longer than any of the other tools, so it's a very mature product. It's over 15 years old now, and it still has, and has had for the last kind of 10 years, around between 60 to 70% of the market share of performance testing tools. So as well as being very mature, it's also very well known in the industry. It's very easy to get resources who know LoadRunner. We've also got a lot of research and development into LoadRunner technology, a lot of investment behind the tool. So any new technologies that come out, as you've seen with the LoadRunner TruClient, we're dedicated and committed to supporting these new technologies and to making sure LoadRunner can work with the technologies that our customers are using. So I guess those are the reasons why I suggest LoadRunner would be a tool to use. You also have integration with, I mentioned HP Diagnostics very briefly, but that's a very powerful integration. When you're running a performance test, if you see a transaction response time, as I mentioned, something like search, for instance, has taken 10, 20 seconds, you want to know what's behind that. If you're using HP Diagnostics, there's a direct integration between the diagnostics tool and LoadRunner and Performance Center, so you can drill down on that transaction response time, and you can actually then see the call profile of the application behind that. So you see the different J2E methods, for instance, that are being called, and you can see visually how long each of those methods is taking, and if there's any SQL behind one of those calls, you can see exactly what that SQL is. So as a tester, you can go down to that method level, and you can go back to a developer and say, it's actually this Java method that's taking up the time, could you have a look at that? So you're giving much better information to developers to look into bottlenecks and try and resolve them. So I'd say those are the key advantages of LoadRunner.
Marvelous. Thanks, Jonathan. I've got another question. I think it's to do with Ajax. I think, Thomas, this is for you. Does Ajax TruClient allow you to still view the script in script view? Do you want to take that, Jonathan?
Yeah. As Jonathan demonstrated, you manage everything through the web browser, through the Firefox, and it is possible to actually add a JavaScript through the panel, which is on the left-hand side of the browser. You can see the script view is actually recording the script with clicking script, but as I said, the main management is done through the web browser.
Perfect. Thank you, Thomas. Another one from James. It says, does the LoadRunner support web applications running on IE9? Jonathan, do you want to take that?
Sure. Currently, no. LoadRunner doesn't support IE9 at the moment. That will be a development in the next version, I believe.
Perfect. Great. I've got quite a long one for I think it's for you, Jonathan. It says, am I surprised by the reported limitation on recording 64-bit applications? And I hope I misunderstood. We have a 64-bit apps on a 64-bit operating system and would want to screen scrape the user actions where possible. I think, Jonathan, this is for you, definitely.
Yeah. At the moment, we can't do that. LoadRunner is still a 32-bit application. Again, the next version will change, but at the moment it's a 32-bit application, so it can't interact, unfortunately, with 64-bit applications. So if you're running 32-bit apps on a 64-bit OS, then that's fine, but unfortunately, at the current time, we don't support 64-bit applications.
Marvelous. Thanks, Jonathan. I'll take a few more, just maybe two more before we finish off and take some of the questions offline. I've got one here. Do you differentiate LoadRunner TruClient? How do you differentiate LoadRunner TruClient with Selenium IDE? Thomas, Jonathan? Do you want to take that, Jonathan? Or?
I'm not familiar with the Selenium IDE, I'm afraid, so I can't really comment.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, another one for you, I think, Jonathan. Do you need a QC license to run Performance Center?
No, you don't. QC is, you get the QC interface as part of Performance Center, and you'll have two server entities. There'll be a QC server, effectively, and a PC server. These can all be virtualized, but part of that Performance Center license is the core technology, the underlying, what we call the ALM platform, which will be that QC server. So, no, you don't need a separate license. The Performance Center license covers it all.
Marvelous. And I'll just take one more, and then if we can take some of the questions offline, guys. I know it's pretty late at the moment. I've got a question here. The TruClient protocol you showed us was using Firefox browser. Does it also work with Internet Explorer? I think maybe Jonathan?
Yeah, sure. Good question. It doesn't. The reason for that being, Microsoft Internet Explorer is quite locked down. The technology used in the TruClient scripting, as I mentioned, there's a number of patents involved in that. It's using very clever technology, and luckily Firefox is, or by design I guess, Firefox is more open to those kind of technologies. So it was relatively straightforward to develop that for Firefox. Microsoft wouldn't give us the ability to do that. So at the moment it's just on Firefox. That doesn't mean if your organization doesn't use Firefox, that doesn't mean you can't use TruClient scripting. If your application will run in Firefox, then you can script against it. When you replay that script back, you're not testing the client browser, so it's not a case of it's going to be inaccurate because you're using IE. You're actually testing the server, so you're testing the responses of the server. So it's valid to use that technology even if your organization isn't using Firefox. But on the IE support, the next release of LoadRunner, again, will probably have support for TruClient within IE, and that will be based on IE 9, which has much more open extensibility than IE 8 does. So that kind of technology will be coming in IE 9. And LoadRunner 12 is kind of well on the development path at the moment. So the release cycles are typically 18 months now, and LoadRunner 11 was released 7 or 8 months ago, so expect within 10 to 12 months that the next version will be coming around.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming again for this webinar. Before we go, if you do have any further questions regarding the webinar or want to know more about our service offerings, including our consultancy, scoping exercises, free consultations, or software reselling, and more within HP's LoadRunner, please do give us a call. Our details are on the slide now. All I have to do is say thank you all very much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.